from Department of the Political Science, Semester 2, St. Xavier College, Simdega. Today, I am presenting my research paper on the topic, The Unsilenced Struggle and Rising Power of Tribal Women in Jharkhand. Let me begin with a simple question. When we talk about development in Jharkhand, do we ever stop and ask, is it reaching the tribal women? This is what this paper tries to answer. Next slide, please. So, why did I choose this topic? It has three reasons. First, it is globally relevant. We study and live in Jharkhand, one of India's most tribal states. Understanding what tribal women go through is essential for anyone studying politics and governance here. And the second is understanding issue, the understudied issue. There is research on tribals in general, but the specific situation of tribal women gets very little attention in academic spaces. And the third is, it is a question of justice. Political science is not only the subject about studying power, it is about asking who is left out of that power. Tribal women are among the most excluded people in our society. Their story deserves to be heard. Third, so here is what I will cover today. First, who tribal women are, then the core problem they face, then the specific challenges, the data behind those challenges, the laws that exist, their history of resistance, and finally, what needs to change. Slide number 4. So, Jharkhand is a home to communities like the Santhal, Munda, Ho, Urao, and Bihu. Together they form a rich cultural fabric of the state. Now, within these communities, women have always played a very crucial role. They are the farmers, the forest gatherers, the healers, the singers who carry oral traditions from one generation to the another. In many tribal communities, the practice was bride price, not dowry, which actually shows that women were valued but not seen as a burden. And this is important, having cultural respect is not the same as having the rights. Tribal women could not inherit land. They had no formal say in community decisions. They were invulnerable to violence. So yes, they were culturally important, but structurally they were left behind. That contradiction is where our study begins. Next slide. Now, the core problem. We call it double marginalization. On one side, as women, tribal women face gender discrimination, no land rights, no voice in decision, risk of child marriage and violence. On the other side, as tribals, they face ethnic exclusion. The land is taken for mines and dams. Their forests are stripped away. Their languages, their cultures are slowly disappearing. The important thing to understand is she faces both at the same time, not separately, but together. A non-tribal woman faces gender problems. A tribal man faces displacement and ethnic exclusion, but a tribal woman faces all of it at once. The combined pressure is much deeper to escape. This is what makes her situation unique and why a separate study is needed. So, next slide. So, what are the specific challenges she faces? Let me go through them one by one. First is displacement. Mines, dams, and industries push tribal families off the land. For men, this is difficult, but for women, it's devastating because the forest is their livelihood, their food, their medicine, their income. Once that is gone, everything collapses. Poor health. More than 65% of tribal women in Jharkhand are anemic. Many give birth in remote areas with no doctor present. This is not just a health problem, it is a governance failure. Then trafficking. Jharkhand consistently ranks among the highest states in human trafficking cases. Young tribal girls are lured to cities with false promises of jobs and then exploited. This happens because of poverty, displacement, and lack of awareness. Then child marriage. Nearly 32% of tribal girls in Jharkhand are married before the age of 18. Once a girl is married earlier, her education ends, and with it, most of her opportunity ends. Then, political exclusion. Even when tribal women are elected to panchayats under reservation, many of them are not allowed to actually work. Their husband sits in the chair and makes the decision. Activists call this as Sarpanch Pati syndrome. And finally, the witch hunting. Women are accused of being witches and subject to social ostracism, physical violence, and even death. The law against it exists in 1999, but it is badly enforceable. Next slide. Now, let us look at the numbers because numbers show us that how serious this problem is. According to Census 2011, travel made literacy in Jharkhand is only about 42%. The national average for this woman is 65.5%. So travel women are nearly 23 percentage points behind the national average. This is not a small gap, it is a structural failure. And according to NFHS, which is also known as National Family Health Services, more than 65% of travel women are anemic. This means out of every 10 travel women, more than 6 are suffering from anemia, and the national average is 57%. So even compared to that, travel women are worse off. Again, from NFHS, 32% of travel girls were married before the age of 18, nearly 1 in 3 girls. And perhaps the most painful number, according to ECA and ASEER study, fewer than 20% of women who are displaced from the land ever receive any formal rehabilitation. Most receive nothing. Each of these numbers is not just a status, it is the life, the denied opportunity, the denied health, the denied dignity. Next slide. But why does this problem exist at all? To understand this, we have to go back in history. In 1793, British land policies took away tribal communities' ancestral lands, and in 1878, the Forest Act turned their customary rights into criminal trespass overnight. Women, who were the primary forest gatherers, lost their livelihood in one stroke. India's independence since 1947 did not fully undo this. We inherited most of those land and forest structures, and the Jharkhand was created in 2000, especially to protect tribal communities. The human development indicators for tribal women remain among the worst in the country. Today, Jharkhand, it holds about 28% of India's mineral wealth, yet it ranks among the lowest state for female literacy and maternity health. This is not a coincidence, it is a direct result of a development model that treats the land and its people as a reservation to be extracted, not communities to be protected. Next slide. Okay. So now India does have the laws to protect tribal women. Like the Article 15(4) of the Constitution allows the government to make special provinces for scheduled tribes. Article 46 directs the state to promote their education and economic interests. The PESA Act of 1996 gives Gram Sabhas real power in tribal areas and reservations and reserves 33% seats for women in panchayats. The Forest Act of 2006 recognizes tribal communities' right over forest land and importantly allows joint land titles so women can be co-workers of land. The Jharkhand Witch Practices Act of 1999 makes witch hunting a criminal offense, and CEDAW, the International Convention Against Discrimination of Women, was ratified by India in 1993. So the laws are there. The rights exist on paper. The real problem is in remote tribal areas. These laws are simply not enforceable. This is not awareness, no legal literacy, no institutional support. The gap between law and reality, this is exactly where tribal women suffer. Next slide. Okay, this one only. Now, this is my favorite part because I want to challenge one common assumption. We often talk about tribal women as they are helpless, as if they are waiting for someone to save them. But history tells us a completely different story. During the Santhal Rebellion of 1885, women did not march from one side, but they fought. They carried supplies, they mobilized villages, and stood up against British rule with full courage and courage. Today, tribal women are leading forest rights movement across India. They fight in court, organize community protests, and resist land projects with remarkable determination. Self-help groups like the Sakhi Mandal in India have connected thousands of tribal women to microfinance and market. Both the income and the confidence have grown. And there is a Damani Bala, a Munda woman from Jharkhand, who became a globally recognized activist and a journalist fighting against displacement. Tribal women are not waiting to be seen, they are already leading. But this need is not sympathy, their need is support. Based on all of this, my research has 5 key findings. Finding 1 is double marginalized is real. Gender discrimination and ethnic exclusion do not work separately, they fuse together, creating a compounded burden that is much harder to escape. Finding 2, the data shows structural exclusion, 42% literacy, 65% anemia, 32% child marriage. These numbers are constantly worse than national averages, and this is not just the accident, it is the structure. Finding 3. Laws exist, but implementation fails. Strong laws are there on paper, but they rarely reach tribal women in remote areas. The central problem is not the absence of law, it is the absence of enforcement. Finding 4. Tribal women are leaders, not the victims. From the simple rebellion of today's self-help groups and forest rights movements, they have always shown courage and leadership that must be recognized and supported. Finding 5. Multi-dimensional solutions are needed, like education, economy, law, and policies must all move forward together. No single invention is enough on its own. Next slide. So, what needs to change? I have the 4 recommendations. First is education. More resident schools like the Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalaya in remote areas, scholarship to girls from dropping out, and digital learning programs adapted in tribal languages like Santal and Ho. Not just translated, but genuinely adapted. Law and enforcement. Strictly enforce the witch hunting law with fast-track courts. Tackle the Sarpanch problem through proper monitoring, make Forest Rights Act, land titles and actually accessible to women on the ground. Economy. Expand self-help groups across all 24 districts of Jharkhand. Create direct market connections for tribal women, women's craft and forest productions without middlemen exploiting them. Then politics. Mandatory leadership trainers for every elected tribal woman, accountability mechanisms for proxy governance, and tribal women organizations must have a real seat at district level planning tables. So the conclusion. Let me conclude now. The tribal woman of Jharkhand is not a symbol of helplessness. It is a symbol of endurance, wisdom, and quiet courage. She does not need charity. She needs justice, land rights, education, healthcare, and a political view that is genuinely heard. The barriers are real, like the patriarchy, displacement, legal unawareness, poor healthcare and education, cultural erasure, but the pathways are equally clear. I want to end with a quote from Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, the measure of a society progress, it is the condition of its women. By that measure, our work, and for the tribal women, it is the unfinished business of Indian Republic. With this, my presentation comes to an end.